You're listening to a Benstown and McVeigh Media Podcast Network production. Run It Again is an inside look at the players, the coaches, and the business of sports with former NFL star and broadcaster Ron Pitts.
And 2 minutes later, I was back in the same Oklahoma drill that I got the concussion from.
And the mastermind behind the greatest show on turf, Coach Mike Martz.
And we want to force him into a vanilla defense and go to work.
Run It Again is a hard-hitting, no BS podcast that connects you directly to the source. This is Run It Again.
Hey, Mike, what's going on, man?
Just getting ready for Christmas. So put the stand on the tree the other day. And actually, it was last night. And I'm getting too old for this. I can't bend over and put that stuff together. And the stand was too big for the tree. And words come out of my mouth that were inappropriate and shocked my wife. And
I bet. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's.
But we got it done. This is a great time of year. I love the lights on the tree and all that stuff. It's always good.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. People don't realize, man. There's pressure when it comes to. I feel pressure putting the lights up in the house because I don't pay anyone to come in and do that. I know in LA that's fashionable. I don't do that. Man, are you kidding me?
Outside,
the outside lights. Yeah, there's a guy that'll come around and I'm not going to say that I haven't been tempted. I've been tempted.
Done it. I've done it. Can you see my fat rear end up climbing up the ladder trying to put a light someplace? That's a fall for sure. I mean, that's a 9/11 call.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting to that age. Not quite there yet, but I'm approaching that zone, that red zone.
So when I was
Christmas
the Rams, obviously when I was coaching, I don't have time to do it, right? So we had to pay somebody to do it, and the guy gave us a discount if we would be the first ones and do it right after Thanksgiving. So that Friday after Thanksgiving, he came and they did it up. Now, I mean, it was. And I was the coach then, so they just absolutely.
They took care of you. Yeah.
You see it from outer space. So my neighbors, I drove up the driveway and they sent a committee over me of guys that were angry. The pressure. Now their wives are, they have to do it. And then, of course, I didn't do any of it. I just came home from work, so I had to deal with all that. But it's fun putting the tree up, though. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah. So I got to get that done here, man. But we're going to rise to the occasion now. We're going to man up and get it done. So don't worry about that. Oh, man. I know what I wanted to ask you. So what you're a music fan. I know you are. Who's your favorite recording group, recording artist?
I got, Ron, I like all the music except for rap. I'm not, maybe it's my era. I just could never really get used to that. But I'm guys like John Denver, for instance. I know that turns a lot of people off, but I like listening to him, Fleetwood Mac, and the Eagles, those kinds of things are my deal. So
Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac has made a comeback. I guess TikTok is now reemerge, help the reemergence of Fleetwood Mac. Well, see, that's just good music. That's all.
Yeah, it is.
This generation is just hearing good music, from people that can sing and so on and so forth.
See, that's the thing about the, singing. Like my kids grew up, of course, when they grew up, the different music was different in the 90s and whatnot, but they used to love, and they still love going back to listen to music that Julie and I grew up with in the 60s and the 70s,
Yeah, man. I remember Elijah used to love to listen to Al Green.
Oh, man. Yeah. How you cannot like? How do you not like Al Green? That's impossible.
Well, he was a big Al Green.
Luther Vandross was another one of my favorites.
Yeah, Luther. Yeah, and who else? He was an old blues guy. Though. Dad liked blues.
Yeah.
He was into Howlin' Wolf.
Oh, Howlin' Wolf.
Big Howlin' Wolf. Yeah. Well, anyway, man, that's why I wore my Jimi Hendrix shirt here now.
Yeah,
my wife got me that
tie-dye deal.
Yeah, that's right, man.
That's not your hair, though. It's not your style.
No. That's not my hair, and I don't, not much hair under here, so that's what we go with this. But,
hair on fire. Yeah.
But listen, I'm going to read something to you, and you tell me, since we're on the music spin right now, you tell me which recording artist said this. Okay, all right, here we go. Quote, "The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy." Quote.
Yeah, that's Gordon Lightfoot. Yeah.
Gordon Lightfoot, right. That's the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Yeah. Great song. Now here's why. Song. Yeah, now here's why I brought this up. In the gym, back early in the year after the Rams beat the Buccaneers, I had a buddy of mine, he's just raving now. He's ready to buy his Super Bowl tickets because the Super Bowl's here in LA, and he figures, well, we've dethroned the GOAT, Tom Brady, so it's a done deal. We're going. And I said, no, whoa. You got a good team, okay? And this was before Beckham, but there's a lot that needs to happen, okay? And in Green Bay, you're going to go back to Green Bay later in the year. Let's see how that goes first. And it's funny because I was listening to that song working out today, and that part at the end about the skies of November turn gloomy and the lake never giving up or dead. And they got the big lake there. That's Lake Michigan. Things change around that time of the year. And in that place, it's hard to win the colder it gets. I'm not saying it can't be done, but you can't go in there thinking, oh, well, we got this one. And the Rams went in there, and it was a tough game for them. And they had lost, in that playoff game last year. A lot of things didn't go right. Let's just say that.
No, and I think it's more about how good Green Bay has come through the year. Watching that game, I was really, really impressed with their defense.
Yeah,
and some of the things in the corners. They've done a good job, and they create mistakes. They make you have mistakes, and I think the Rams are still trying to feel out what they're doing on offense. The long ball and the bootlegs and all that stuff. He's going to have to change some things up to spur him on a little bit and fit that quarterback. I don't think they can protect him well enough to keep him in these deep drops he likes to do all the time.
Yeah,
I think that lake might be down in Dallas too, because they've had a stormy November too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it just looked to me like, there was a couple of things. They had a bust on a coverage where Devontae Adams had a big play. I want to say it was in the third quarter, and I went back and looked at it. They had a miscommunication. They tried to bump it out and ended up bumping Jalen Ramsey off of Devontae Adams
to the motion. Motion came across him, and they just bumped it out. Yeah,
it was wrong.
Most guys, though, Ron, as you know, when you have two corners, you never move those corners inside. You just bump things across, even if it's man to man. And that rule, it's like the Jets when what's his name was there. They were so good with the corners, and what we did is they didn't move them; they left them. Or excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would leave. So what we would do is put the tight ends outside and the wide receivers inside, and we got on nickels, and you just go to town, and that's kind of what happened to them.
Yeah, and I could see it happen, and the safety was following a fullback, actually, a fullback / tight end, 6'5".
Yeah, Ramsey ends up calling the nickel has
the nickel, the poor kid, and
he can't cover him. So they ran an inside fade on that and took off, and they know what they're doing there. The first thing you do when you put a game together on offense is try to look at the rules or coverage rules on how they pass things off and what their spots and zones are, and because everybody does things a little bit differently. But that rule is Ramsey won't go inside; they just bump everything, and they got him beat there.
They're going to have to adjust that.
But that's just real simple defense. That's the easiest way to do it, and like I said, in my opinion, Ramsey ought to have been on that receiver the entire night.
The entire night. Yeah. They've changed that. They've changed that up. And
I did think the Rams started off, they had some problems obviously early, the turnovers and whatnot, but they got back in it. I think the Rams will emerge at the end. I think they'll mend and get out of this. I think that the quarterback Stafford is hurting. I think he's injured and playing hurt right now, and I think they'll revive themselves.
They talked about that leading up to the game, and as I guess as a coach and former player, we're conditioned to kind of just hear it and not hear it. But I think you're right. He's probably a little bit more than people think. But you never have that excuse, at least not when they give you that kind of money.
No, but I've had quarterbacks, Kurt included, that were hurt and wouldn't tell anybody. And I didn't know how hurt he was. And he'd broken his thumb, on his throwing hand, and so we're playing a couple of weeks with him with a broken thumb, and he doesn't want, they're just competitors, and he don't want to come out there, but he has a couple misses every week. That's just who he is. But he had a lot of misses, and the ball was taken off on him. I just think there's something going on there physically with him.
Yeah, and people have figured out now we're not going to let the defense just tee off on us. We're going to get a lead, which everybody wants, and then we're going to turn this into an inside drill.
Yeah.
a 9-on-7 drill, and that's what they're doing, and that's neutralizing guys like Aaron Donald.
So they've gone from first to 15th or so, or whatever it is on defense,
Yeah.
or 11th, whatever it is. They should be the best defense in the league with what they trot out there every Sunday.
Without question. Without question.
Is it the defensive coordinator? It's just a very simple system with really good players. And the old school thing is you let them play, keep them real simple and let the players play. But in my mind, that doesn't work on offense. It doesn't work on defense. I just think what they did there before was they got guys in position to make plays all the time on defense.
Yeah.
Whether it was a blitz, a stunt, whatever it was. But I think they're a little frustrated with that too, because they win a lot of games on defense. They used to anyway.
Oh, no, without question. That's how they win their games, and that's not happening now. And not having a real run game hurts them as well. Nobody's afraid of the running backs.
Well, and when you look back when they went to the Super Bowl, they were running the ball very, very well.
Yeah.
And they've never replaced that aspect of their offense.
Nope. Cam Akers got hurt in an off-season drill. Mike, you ever have a guy go down, a key player in an off-season drill?
No.
Boy, that's
big.
And
I've never had that happen. No.
Yeah, he tore his.
All the years I was in the league, I've never had a guy go down.
Oh my gosh, it's just. And when I heard that, it was right before camp, or during the pre-camp workouts, and I heard that, and I was like, "That's bigger than people can ever imagine."
You remember Adam Marshalletta?
Yeah, the safety.
Safety. He's a real good player, and I think going into, his fourth year with us. He had this crazy workout in Phoenix with his goofball down there, jumping over boxes and hanging.
I saw it. It. Yeah. Throwing the bench press bar up and clapping 3 times and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, he did one of these days where he jumps off of something and he exploded a disc in his back. He was never the same. That was right before the season, and he played, but he didn't play very well, and that was kind of the end of it for him.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question about the Rams defense, they're holding steady at number 15, giving up 350 yards a game, but it's
a lot of yards, boy.
Yeah, you definitely don't see the impact of the front four, particularly.
You got to get Aaron Donald somehow. You got to get him to the quarterback somehow, or in the running game. You just Mike, nothing going on there. The twist, stuff.
But when you're down by 10. Okay, and all the other team is doing is running the ball at you. They don't have to throw, and that's what I'm noticing people are doing, and they're running it right at him.
But there are a lot of run stunts without blitzing anybody. They're pretty vanilla in what they do up front. They're just not doing anything with them. There's ETs and TTEs and all that kind of stuff. Where you free guys up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can go to a solid front too. The linebacker for him, you don't see him. He never shows up in the tackles.
Right. No, that's oh boy, that's right. Yeah, Reader is inside there, and I'm noticing people are starting to get next level on him. He's getting exposed a little bit.
I just think he just never shows up much. And with that defensive line, he ought to be making a lot of tackles in the running game.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's talk about the Monday game. That's pretty fresh. Seattle and Washington, big win for Ron Rivera and his team. They're trying to hold on. Seattle is all but gone now in the playoff hunt. And for the first time, I don't know that I've ever heard Pete Carroll do this. He called out Russell Wilson in a press conference and said, "Hey, he's got to play better. We all got to play better."
Well, I think he's frustrated with Russell. He's protecting him now for 2 years. And remember, they fired the coordinator last year, I think, because Russell wasn't real happy with it.
Yeah.
They fired the coordinator. When you fire the coordinator, then you better get better. And he didn't. He's gotten worse. So they brought the new coordinator in. I don't know if he's any good or not, but I know Russell's holding the ball a lot. His big deal is, and I think this is who he is, he wants to pitch that thing down the field in the worst way. He's not patient enough to throw the ball in the flat. When's the last time you saw him come out and throw the back in the flat? I don't think I've ever seen him do that. Yeah. So the aspects of the mundane, and Mahomes went through this for about 3 weeks, remember? He just took off on his own, and I think that's where Russell Wilson is. I think he's off on his own right now, and it's affected the team.
Yeah. Please tell me, well, first of all, let's clear this up. The last play, in the end zone there that was picked off by Washington. He held the ball a long
Too long.
time. I mean,
he should have completed. It was way too long.
Yeah,
Way too long. It's like he's waiting to see guys come open, and he's just not who he is. He's a better player than that.
yeah.
He's missing throws. It's like he doesn't know where guys are going to be, and he's trying to see who's going to get open. He just looked like a rookie to me.
Could his finger still be bothering him? Remember, he had surgery on that, and
I don't think so. I'm sure it bothers him, but not to the point. Kurt played with a fractured thumb and torn ligaments, in a Super Bowl and all that stuff. So I'm sure it bothers him, but he wouldn't come back unless that thing was healed. But he was playing like this before the finger, so I don't buy into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was awful before it. He just was.
Yeah. So the Washington football team will go to 5-6, and then, they'll hang in there now. And Seattle, like I said, 3-8, they're all but out of it. Explain this to me. 17-9, fourth quarter. Washington is down in the red zone. I want to say they're inside the 5. It's fourth down. Why not take your points? Why not make it a 2-possession game? They go for it on fourth.
The field goal that got blocked. The kicker tried to chase him down, and he tore his hamstring.
I saw that.
Or at least. I mean, have you ever torn a hamstring? I've done it 4 times. It's like somebody shoots you, you just drop, and you don't just get up and jog off it. So it was kind of interesting to me. He just got up and jogged off, but he couldn't kick. They didn't have a kicker.
Gosh, so the punter couldn't. What was that? Probably a 20-yarder.
Well, the punter should. He's kicked it before. I'm not sure why they didn't.
But
But here from a coaching element, here's what you're thinking. They have not made a first down on you in the last 3 quarters.
Right.
They came out and scored in the first quarter, but since the first quarter, they had like 5 3-and-outs. They can't move the ball, and now they've got to go 90 yards or whatever it is. 95 right?
yards.
So the bet is, try and get the touchdown. If you don't get the touchdown, your defense has just kind of shut him down for 3 quarters of this game. So I understand why he did it. The problem is, where was that offense the rest of the game? They go down, it takes them a minute, right, to go 97 yards and score a touchdown. So the moral of that, and this is something, when you have a real good player at quarterback, and he's not, things aren't going real good. In the past, sometimes what gets him out of it is just go right to 2 minutes for a while and let him not think about his throws, but just get going and get a pace going, and that's one way of doing it too. But they couldn't make a first down. They go to 2 minutes, they go right down the field and score. That
was my fear on that. I said, watch these guys put it all together. And it started with how it always starts, the interference penalty. They got that big interference penalty. Yeah. And then they just start clicking off throws. And Russell, like you said, he had the best rhythm he had of the night. And they get down the field.
I think really the other thing about the 2 minutes, I think he might be calling the plays in 2 minutes and not So
interesting. Yeah.
I just think there's a disconnect there somehow. He from the team or the coordinator. There's nothing wrong with Pete. Listen, people talk about, he looked tired. I was watching some of those shows this morning. Pete looks tired, he's got a 5-year extension. They ought to fire him. You don't become a bad head coach overnight in 1 year. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I don't buy any of that.
No. So in the general manager too, I think the burden lies with that quarterback. I really do. And his energy level is not what it used to be. His enthusiasm. Remember how you could just see it when he walked in the huddle, the speed of how he got things in and out and the play call and his enthusiasm.
The energy isn't there. And I understand why when you're getting beat, that's an energy drainer.
But it's been like that, Ron. He's been like that for 2 years now.
Yeah. Hey, another thing, he doesn't have a run game. Chris Carson is gone. And they were struggling in the past to have consistency, even with Carson, I think, in the run game. But they had something. Collins is in now. He's doing what he can, but that's not there.
Something is wrong. It's not Pete. Something with the coordinator and him. I don't think he's comfortable with what they're doing. That's part of the deal. I mean, how does Metcalf not have a ball thrown to him until the fourth quarter?
Yeah, right.
How does that
That's right.
happen?
Yeah.
How is he not a factor in this game when you can't run the ball? How could that possibly happen? They've got good wide receivers. How do you not get them the ball? You know, you're playing this dink and dunk on or the inside stuff. He's missing guys by a mile, but they didn't even throw Metcalf the ball until at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah.
I don't know. There's a disconnect.
There's something else going on. Yeah. Do you think Russell was very vocal in the offseason and they made all the changes like you alluded to that he wanted? So now
or he wasn't coming
baby.
back. Yeah. Do this. I just think he's tired of carrying the burden. It's hard. If you can't run the football and the burden's on you to do everything, it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah. So do you think there's something going on in the locker room? Do you think the players have one eye kind of looking at him out the side of thinking, hey man, now dude, you were vocal and right or wrong, we gave you what you wanted. What's going on?
Maybe so, but they're not playing good either.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like he's the only problem. They're not playing, you know, the offensive line's not playing good. You know, there's just so many things. There's teams without running backs. Remember Tennessee, all of a sudden they show up and they can rush for 100 yards again, you know, with somebody that nobody heard of basically. So it's, you know, it was at Detroit for, you know, we didn't have a running back, you know, he went down right away. And so we had to invent guys. You know, it just happens. You just do what you got to do.
Yeah. And that defense isn't very good.
No, they're not.
I like Jamal Adams, but they talk a lot about Jamal because there's nothing else to really talk about.
You'd think a guy of his caliber would show up more in games than he does.
I think, I don't see it. I'll be honest with you. I don't see it. And I think the media, you can tell when those guys have put their game boards together, the broadcasters, they've got a couple highlights on Jamal Adams, but there's some things I don't see there. But anyway, they've got to get it figured out, and they're not going to get it figured out this year because they're pretty much done.
They're out of it now for sure.
They're out of it. Yeah.
But they can be a factor in that division there for sure.
Yeah. Because they've got to play the Rams again, and they've got to play some other teams, so they can ruin the party. That's for sure. Let's move on here's one. We're going to go back to Thanksgiving Day, and there were 3 games that day. You know, the good old Lions, they had their moment there. They played, and then Dallas and the Raiders, and you know, of course, Dallas did exactly what I figured they would do. The success was too much for them, and in come the Raiders. And you got to watch out for the Raiders because the Raiders are one of those teams, even though they had been on that losing streak coming into that game, I think they're one of those dangerous teams. They can flare up and play well at certain times.
They're very dangerous because the quarterback is really a good player. They're good on defense. They're really a good defensive front. Secondary, which has always been their Achilles heel, is good. So I think they've gotten past the blues that they went through at the tragedy. They've gotten through all that at this point. I really think that there'll be a huge factor in the KC. You know, now that all 3 of those teams are tied, Chargers, Raiders, and Denver, they're all tied, I think. Yeah. I think that there'll be a factor, though. I think they're on the mend and coming, especially the way they played against Dallas. And Dallas's offensive line was just horrendous. Yeah. You got these 2 backs, and they can't get back to the line of scrimmage in the running game. They just can't stay on blocks. They're just not very good.
What a weird team. And Dallas is an anomaly to me. It's like what's going on? Okay, now Mike McCarthy has COVID. He won't coach. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing for them right now. Zeke Elliott, he's banged up. I love the Pollard kid. The Pollard kid should get a lot. Yeah, he should get a lot.
He's more productive than Zeke, to be honest with you.
He is. No, he is, Mike. He's very productive. But again, here's a Dallas team that, as much as the networks love them and as much as people want to crown them year after year and say, oh, this is it. It's like that Cowboy fan I ran into in the airport a couple weeks ago. The guy just couldn't smile because he knew the Falcons weren't anybody special. And, you know, he was right because the Raiders came in here and ruined the party.
So didn't they have both their inside tackles out for the game? And I think that Dallas. And so they went to work on those guys.
Yeah.
Now. They
But
defensively, that looked more like the Chargers than they did the Cowboys. They just got pushed around on defense like nobody's business.
Mike, they went to work on. They went, yeah. Well, the pass rush affects it, but they went to work on that kid Brown in the secondary.
Yeah.
I think he got called for 4 PIs.
So here's what I was going to ask you. It's the league is so different now than I guess when I was coaching, but
I know where you're going.
And even coming up, this hand stuff. Doesn't anybody cover with their feet anymore?
Where do I start?
I don't see. I mean, just the technical, the confidence of being a corner and using your feet and your speed and technique, and then. But these guys are just trying to wrestle them. I don't get it.
Well, Mike, no, because it starts from college. They're not being taught that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of kids coming out of college. They don't even know how to backpedal anymore. The backpedaling used to be an art, a smooth, controlled backpedal.
Yeah.
Where you were low and you could transition well. Remember the old W drill?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because it just taught you as a corner and as a DB to bang, bang, get the foot transition and come out of it. So you didn't slip, you didn't fall. But it's almost like people have said, give me the fastest guy, the tallest guy, the longest guy, and put him in press coverage, get your half tile going, wrap it around, look fly, and just play football. Just run with them. That's what they just run with them. And I got to tell you, the PI rules, to me, if I'm an offensive coach, I think I throw one go route every quarter. And I tell my receiver, now listen, if he's in your hip pocket and he's, like you're saying, hand fighting, all right, try to make it as much contact as you can and look like you're being bothered, disrupted, because they're going to throw the flag. I know they say if you're not turned around, you maximize your chance of the flag. I get that. But if the cornerback looks like he's out of control and that receiver starts doing all this and that, and then after the ball hits, does that, I can guarantee a flag's coming out. I'm seeing. Have you seen that? I've seen that.
Yeah, but to me, Ron, it's rightfully so. I mean, when did all this mugging? You didn't play like that. You didn't come up and tackle guys as they're running down the field. Here's what we would do.
That's different. I'm talking about down the field when guys are.
But even then, down the field, here's our thought about it. We had guys try to wrestle them. And we said, drop your shoulder, run through it, and run as fast as you can. Do not reach with your arm because that slows you down.
You're talking about off the ball?
And down the field. When they're trying to wrestle with you and grab you and chuck you and all that stuff, if you just stay in your arm pump and go, you'll leave them. And it always worked.
That's true. But I don't see receivers doing that.
They don't. And it's stupid. It's just so dumb because they can hand fight you all you want. If they're running full speed and doing this with their hands and you run full speed and working your arms, you'll leave them in a heartbeat. But everybody reaches back and it's just like they're slapping each other.
I'm telling you what it is. The receivers are being taught to try to instigate and encourage the PI. I know they are. Probably
so. No, to me, what I would tell the quarterback is underthrow it and let him
underthrow the ball. Yeah.
Underthrow the ball just and have the guy try to come back and
you got no chance. If you see the corner as we used to call it, in phase, I'm in his hip pocket and we're running. Underthrow the ball and receiver, fight like hell. Make sure you fight through the corner to get to the ball. Yeah, they're going to call that. I promise you, they're going to call it. But it is. But that poor kid, he just got. At what point do I say okay? Because for a while there, the Raiders or the Cowboys were sending pressure. The pressure wasn't getting there. I thought Carr did a great job of knowing when to get rid of it.
Yeah, he did.
To go to. But the Cowboys stayed man to man. This kid has given up 3 PIs. He's getting scorched. Change it up. Go to 2-man. And I know that the disadvantages of 2-man, but I don't just leave the kid out there. He's given up freaking 3 PIs. Yeah. That killed him. Now you're going to kill his confidence the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he lacks confidence. They just resort to street ball basically. And that's, to me, so much corner play has gone downhill The really good ones like Ramsey, they don't do that. They'll chuck you a little bit, and then they'll push you into the boundary with their bodies, but they don't.
Yeah.
They're really good. Even look at Green Bay. He's so doggone big. He just runs through all that stuff. He doesn't fool around with you. He just goes.
Oh, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, he just goes. He just runs.
No, he's a good receiver, and I noticed the way Jalen played him. He was like two really good fighters.
Yeah.
There wasn't much screwing around. They were measuring each other up, and see, Jalen knows he can't intimidate him either. That's another part.
But to me, it's all about your feet.
It's all feet. It's all feet.
At corner and at wide receiver, it's all about your feet.
It's all feet. You jam, as we used to say back in the day, in press coverage, you jam people with your feet, not your arms, not your hands.
Yeah.
Remember the old drill? They put your hands behind your back and slide your feet. That's very real. But anyways, and just before we get off this, Jalen Ramsey, I noticed the Rams, they got him playing more zone. He's not following the hot guy like he
was in a lot of zone. No, they're in a lot of zone.
Yeah, they're in a lot of zone, which I understand, because he's such a good player. You kind of want to be able to use him all over the field. I get that part of it, but people are going to make you isolate. They're going to isolate, make him play man to man on somebody.
I've seen him at nickel on some teams, because nickel on the slot, depending on who the slot is and what their passing game is. Because Aeneas Williams for us was our nickel. And he just shut things down.
He could go in there. Now see, Ramsey may not be comfortable in there.
He's a big dude, though. I've seen him in the slot and nickel. I'm not sure why, but he's been there.
Yeah, I don't know. Some guys like Deion Sanders for years wouldn't go inside.
He's too little.
Well, but another thing too, Mike, it's different in the slot from a coverage standpoint, a pure man-to-man standpoint. The guy has a two-way go on you in there. So you can't play it like you play it on the perimeter. On the sideline, I've got that sideline, and that sideline is another defender for me.
No question. I think it's a great point. I think the hardest position in defense to play is a nickel.
It's completely different. Remember Toy Cook?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Toy Cook lives near me here, and we talk a lot. And we were talking one day about guys that were hard to jam in the slot and this and that. He said, "Are you kidding me? I wouldn't even try to jam people in the slot. I would back off, play soft coverage, soft catch, and play basketball." And I thought, that's right. I wish I would have known that.
That's exactly what
30 years ago.
How Aeneas played it.
That's how Aeneas played it. Yeah.
Aeneas was the best nickel we ever had.
Yeah.
He's really good.
You can't jam guys in there, Mike, because if I take away and you're inside, well, then you got 32 yards going that way.
But he did his homework too. He knew by your releases where you're going most of the time. So
yeah, right. That's
and
right.
Plus when they run the football in nickel, he was there. It's hard to block him.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's move on here. Tennessee and New England. New England is going, Mike. I mean, at 8-4 now, they are tied for the best record in the AFC, along with Tennessee now. Yeah.
Well, the thing about Tennessee, they went up there and played way better than I thought they would play, with all the stuff that's going on with them and the injuries. And they went up there and it was competitive for a while, and then they just pulled on them. But Tennessee is they're hurting. They've got their roster right now is damaged, so to speak. So
yeah,
we said before, the quarterback ultimately, if you're going to put it on his shoulders to win it like they've done in Seattle, he's just ultimately not good enough to do it.
Yeah. Ravens also at 8-3. I don't feel real confident about that Ravens.
I just don't like him. They sack him. They give up more sacks than anybody in the league on the quarterback. He's 4 picks.
I don't.
They won the game, but they just rely on his athleticism to do everything. It's just that's 1 + 10 there, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Hey, going back to the Raiders real quick, and then we'll wrap that up. Do you think Carr is more comfortable now without John Gruden on the field?
That was going through my mind. Oh, there's no question.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah. He's having fun. And that's not disrespectful to John. I think the coordinator there is let him play more. You know what I mean? He's not so rigid. And remember, John Gruden's deal is all nothing really over 10 yards. Just dink and dunk and move the ball. Real controlled passing game where they're throwing it down the field now. In fact, I think his yards per, I think I have here, shoot, he's at 8.3 yards per pass attempt. Now, in the old days, before all the passing came in 20 years ago, in the old days, if you were above 7, you were really a good passing team. Now, today, if you hit 8, and he's at 8.3, you're doing really well. And that's next to turnovers. It's the most telling factor in winning in football. And, you got Garoppolo's 8.4, Burrow's 8.4. That's huge. Kyler Murray's 8.9, leading the league. You get up towards 9, you're in an upper stratosphere. That's outrageous.
Yards per pass attempt. That's what you call it. Yards per pass attempt. Okay.
When I got into the league, I met with a statistic guy, and I said, tell me the things that are the most important thing in winning, because I used to do the stats, and this guy knew nothing about football. He just knew stats. He said, well, I don't know anything about football, but statistically, the two things that determine winning and losing is yards per pass attempt and turnovers. He said those two things married generally will tell you how good a team really is.
Interesting.
On offense. Yeah.
There it is. You heard it. Yeah.
So we were, when we were going good, we were between 9 and 10, which nobody'd ever been. So I'm kind of proud of that.
That's
yeah.
you should be.
Yeah.
You should be. Cool. Yeah. Way to run that again, Mike. That was great, man. That's why
I am proud of that. I am proud because that stat meant so much to me. And then I looked at it one day in the office, and I hadn't paid much attention to it. And we're like 9.7 and this, that, and the other thing. I said, oh, man, well,
see, that's why people listen to us, okay, and watch us, because I have never heard that on all of the sports shows I watch.
They don't know.
I don't hear that from any announcer.
No.
That's stuff you can only hear right here on Run It Again. Yards per pass attempt, folks. And of course, turnovers. Turnovers have always factored in, and they will always factor.
Well, I was just looking at this morning some of the top guys. Kyler Murray's 8.9. Rodgers is 7.7, which is good. Carr's 8.3. Stafford is 8.3.
That's a lot.
Garoppolo, Burrow at 8.4, but those are the top guys. Rodgers is a cool 7.7, but I mean, that means not only you're completing the ball, but you're getting run after the catcher, you're getting the ball down the field, one of the two.
Yeah.
It means you're very, very, very powerful, very, very good in the passing game.
The Cowboys got 3 games, now 2 games in, I guess that's 6 days. So they had 3 games coming up in 12 days. Your coaches has got COVID. So they've got a road ahead of them. Let's look, Mike, at the games coming up here before we tap out. Week 13. And remember, folks, this is an 18-week season. So I wrote down 2 things, Mike, that I think are going to be factors in this. Health. You got to be healthy, as always. Right. You got to be healthy. And then consistency. And if there's one team that embodies that right now, to me, it's the New England Patriots.
They do. They really do. This is probably the best defense I've seen them have in many years. They've won some Super Bowls with some really mediocre defenses. Really. Yeah. I think this is the best New England team that they've ever had, to be honest with you. I think they're headed in that direction. Yeah, even without Tom Brady, because they're so good everywhere. And how'd that happen? Well, they have personnel and great coaching. I mean, he's proved he's probably the best ever. Obviously, as a head coach, you know how hard that is to do that. What he's accomplished. I think the best team at the end, though, will still be the Packers. I felt that way early in the season. I still feel that way. They're just getting better and better.
Green Bay's
got all their guys back, and the running game's going defensively. I saw them early in the year and said, my gosh, they're awful. But Joe Barry's done a great job up there. They're really good on defense. I love their corners.
And they didn't have the big time corner there, Jair Alexander.
Right.
He hasn't played now. He's been dinged up. So they're going to get him back along with the other Smith. That's Zadarius Smith. Preston's there, but Zadarius Smith went out of the game a few weeks back. So when they get those 2 guys back, now they should be humming. And talk about timing. Perfect.
Well, that
timing.
was my point too. They won some games. They won a game without Rodgers. They've The receiver was out. Devontae was out for a while. The running back was out for a while. The linemen were out for a while. They've gotten healthy, and they're not quite at full stride. But when I watched that game, that's the best they've played all year against the Rams.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you got the Packers 9-3 now, Buccaneers 8-3, Cardinals 9-2. So those are the class teams of the NFC.
No question.
You know, with consistency. AFC Patriots, we're talking about them. Buffalo. I like what Buffalo did against the Saints. The Saints are reeling a little bit. They're hanging on there 5-6. But Buffalo, they responded well in a tough place to play, especially at that time, this time of the year.
Yeah, I think the quarterback down there with the Saints, he can't play. He's just not good enough.
Yeah.
The guy that they're replacing with, I think, is a good quarterback. When I was down there and saw them in practice, I like this kid. Yeah. But I think probably the biggest issue for the Saints right now, other than the quarterback, is they've got to get back to that running game somehow, because they just have been so inefficient running the football.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. Ravens, we talked about them. Bengals, the Bengals coming along now. The young man there, Burrow, he's been pretty good all year. That receiver, Jamar Chase, has been excellent.
Chase, the combination between those two guys now is remarkable. Wow. For the quarterback in his second year, of course, he missed his first year. So this is really kind of his rookie year when you look at it. He is each week he's gotten better and better and better. Defensively, they're good special teams. They were awful in the offensive line. They've attacked that issue. Mixon is really running well. Right now, they're a hot team.
Yeah. Dolphins are moving. They're 5-7. They got a ways to go and need a lot of help because they're in a hot division, obviously. But they are moving and hanging on. The Colts, what a game to lose. Really one of the best games I saw all week there, taking on Tampa Bay. The Jonathan Taylor kid is really special.
Isn't he something?
Nyheim Hines, I like him. Mistake here and there if he dropped the punt, and that was big. How did you feel Wentz played overall?
He played like what he's pretty consistent right now. He's just good enough. I keep waiting for him to get past that barrier. I think he's a good player. I think you can win with Wentz. He's if you don't have a real strong running game, he's going to fade. He's not going to be why you win, I don't think, but I think he's good enough.
No, you're right. You're right, Mike. You're right. And he threw one ball that I didn't like, and I thought it was a great play by Winfield Jr. on the interception. I believe that was him. I couldn't get a clear replay view from TV whether he underthrew it or threw it too much back shoulder.
I think the angle of the receiver shocked him. On those balls, when he lets go of the ball, the receiver takes more of an angle than he thinks, and it's just going to be misplaced.
Yeah,
that's why if I can just, when you teach those deep balls, you're running to a spot, and the quarterback is thrown to a spot, and if you change your angle on it, you fool him.
Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Chargers, what's going on with the Chargers?
It's not very good, Ron. They're defensively. When you look at them, they're so small and weak in the interior up front. The tackles, they're just little guys. They're just not, the second half they came out and they stuffed the run. They did a good job. Yeah. But in the first half, it was like they're holding bags again. They're just awful.
It's at times I feel like Herbert is trying to do too much. And then other times I clearly see he's under duress, and it feels like he's been under duress so much during the season that now he's invented a new way of survival, which has to be the beginning of the end for a young quarterback.
There you go. You're back.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know where you lost me there. I was just saying at times I look at Herbert and he's running for his life back there. And I think he's had to do that so much this year that he's invented a new way to play, which sometimes hurts him.
Well, it's like the Detroit Lions and Stafford. Then that's how you play. Then that's what you become. And it's hard to go to a good team like Stafford's done. And be successful. It's in you.
Yeah.
You made that comment before, but I think that they have to be real careful with this kid because he's such a good player. you get him beat up real bad and he's going to start doing dumb things. And he hasn't done that yet, but it's easy for a quarterback to fall into.
Yeah, they've got one or two players defensively. Boy, they're in trouble defensively. They can't
They're
stop
so bad,
anything.
Ron. That might be the worst defense I've seen in the league for some time. And Brandon Staley, the reason why they're so static and simple on defense is because if they come after you, get exposed in the back end, and those corners can't cover anybody.
Yeah, I see James running around 33, hitting people. A couple other people will jump around. Bosa's kind of inconsistent, and I don't see much else. I really don't.
Well, they can always they can always give help on Bosa because they know that the other three guys are insignificant. You can block them.
Yeah.
So he gets, you just make sure you take care of him. The other guys you can block.
Yeah, and that rookie Linval Joseph, he's a good player. I like him, but he's been nicked up.
Yeah,
and
they're just bad on defense, and they have to play pretty simple because you'll give up big plays one after the other if you start to get aggressive.
Yeah,
it's too bad because I think in time they're going to be a real good team. The offseason is going to be good for these guys.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I'll see Bosa try to make some plays sometimes, but like you say, when you don't have any help and it's easy for them to turn the protection on you, I can tell he gets frustrated. You can tell by body language. He gets tired of it.
Well, he's a competitor,
Yeah.
They just don't come. And that's the other thing. The bad teams that I've been on in the league, and I was on a number of them. You have a handful of guys it's important to them. They compete no matter what. And then the other guys just kind of play.
That's sad.
And that's the difference.
That's sad. All right. Look, we're going to run through the next week's games here. I'm going to pick out. Well, who do you think is going to be? What do you think some of the big games are? I'm looking at a board here, so let me throw this out. Let me see. Okay, so let's go to this one. Boy, they're back on Monday night again. New England and Buffalo. Wasn't New England just on Monday night like last week?
Yeah, they were. Well, you can only remember you can do 3 of those, and that's it. But you could do 3 in a row.
You could do 3 in the Chiefs, and that's it.
That'll be an interesting game. Where is it being played?
This is in Buffalo. This is 8-4 going 7-4, and Buffalo was enjoying life up until about 2 weeks ago, until they looked in the rearview mirror and saw, Captain's Courageous coming down the river. So
well, they've got to do a better job just physically than they've been. A lot down in New Orleans, they beat them up pretty good, but physically they've not been the Buffalo team that I've seen in the past.
This is going to be a hell of a game, Mike. This might be one of the best games of the year.
It should be a real good game, yeah.
Yeah, because Buffalo needs this one, and it's going to be a hostile environment. That's a tough place to play.
There's nothing more hostile, really. They going in that tunnel.
Oh God!
The discussions I've had with people hanging over the tunnel as I go out on that field, as a visiting coach. Hey, Martz, fat ass. Just talking about my family, my kids, my dog, everything else.
Oh, Mike,
stuff thrown at you.
I went to high
I told
school.
I told you about that family, on the bus.
Yeah. That gave you a new perspective of underwear.
4 moons.
4 moons. Yeah. Y'all come back now here.
Yeah.
Boy, let me see here. Arizona's going back to Chicago. That's a tricky game. I know Chicago isn't very good, but the talk came out that they were going to fire Nagy. Then he responds with a win, of course. So now you're not sure which box of chocolate you're going to get with that team.
What doesn't make any difference if Chicago plays as good as they can play, Arizona will beat them handily. I think. There's just too much on both sides of the ball for Chicago to handle. Now, maybe the defense will finally show up in this game. They might, but there's just too much for them to stop. They run the ball so well, and then of course the quarterback is such an unusual player.
Yeah. Chargers got the Bengals. Dallas will be in New Orleans, and that's going to be a tough game for them. That's going to be a tough game for the Cowboys.
Oh, Hill is the new quarterback, and like I said, I liked him down there, Taysom, and they just signed him. His ability to move around, and he's a good passer. I think he's a good enough passer.
Yeah,
but I think and he's a favorite on the team, Ron.
The locker room
favorite in the team. Yeah. This will be a hard game for Dallas.
It's going to be real hard. And like I said, remember now, Dallas has got the coaches out with COVID, and Zeke is not 100%. That might be a good thing for them. Will they get CeeDee Lamb back and Amari Cooper? That's a question mark.
Well, doesn't Amari come back now though this week?
Yeah, he should. I mean, those are two. They didn't have those two guys against the Raiders. Not making any excuses, but another thing, I want to see Amari play well in a big game. I haven't seen that very often.
Yeah, he has in the past. He did for a while, but
like his first year there, I saw it, but I haven't seen it lately.
You just gotta get him the ball. Shoot, you gotta let him play.
Yeah, that's a Thursday night game, so that's we're going to be tuned into that one. Minnesota is pushing along until San Francisco clipped them off this week. They're going to take on the Lions back in Detroit. So unless you just forget what time the game starts, you should have that one.
Well, the other thing about that division now, the San Francisco, that was such a big game for them. I think that puts them one game back behind the Chargers now. Don't they have like 6 wins or 5 wins?
Yeah, right. Well, San Francisco now is 6-5, and that puts them one game back from the Rams at 7-4, with the Cardinals at 9-2. Yeah. So now they've come back into the picture.
Yeah, they are definitely in the picture.
Yeah. And that's a credit to Kyle Shanahan.
It is.
Team. Yeah.
People, what do you think of Garoppolo? Here's, just like I was telling you earlier, he is 8.4 yards per pass attempt. That's ridiculous. That's outstanding.
Wow. I don't know how many people realize that.
No, he's just so efficient, Ron. His percentage, he'll go entire half and not miss a pass.
Mike, they came out with an article in the papers this past week saying that he would be traded next year. Is that BS? Is that premature?
Just from inside that organization, I can just tell you that from the very get-go, they've never liked this guy.
Why?
They just don't think he's as committed to. Instead of getting into all that, because I don't want to reveal who told me, but they just said it's never set well with them at all. He's just never set well. All he does is just play his ass off. They think he's. I don't know. I really don't know, but there'll be a line of guys lined up for him, I'm sure.
Yeah. And depending on things go, could be someone in a division lined up for him. You never know. But
yeah, never know.
Yeah. Washington will go to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Now here's where the Raiders like to trip up. Have some success. Now, can you handle the success and win the next week in successive weeks?
And again, the Washington, that team is really a team that's like San Francisco. It's on the mend now. I think he's playing really well. I think the receivers are coming around. Defensively, they're good up front. The safeties have disappeared for a while, but they're starting to play again. So, they just have to. I think they've found their stride, so to speak. They found their identity on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Rams should. You never want to say easy, but they've got the Jaguars coming in town, so their work is cut out. They know what they need to do against them. But after this, the Rams are going to take off on the road, and they're going to have some interesting games. They're going to be at Arizona. Then they got Seattle coming to LA. Then they go on the road twice in what I think are very, very difficult games and possibly season-defining games, if for nothing more, where you land in the playoff slotting. And that's at Minnesota and then at Baltimore.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry. You're saying what you think are very difficult games?
Yeah, 2 difficult games for the Rams at Minnesota and at Baltimore in a couple weeks. But they've got to first take on Jacksonville, and then they've got Arizona at Arizona. That'll be a big
the Arizona game is a huge game, as you know. So
yeah, that'll be huge. And that's tricky, isn't it? Not to look past Jacksonville, because you're going to Arizona, and which could be for the division title. It really could be.
That's the classic trap game. When you have a patsy, basically, and then you're playing for a championship the next week. When I was at the University of Pacific, it was like game number 8. We went back to play South Carolina. In the stands, they had "Bring on the Real Tigers." We're the Pacific Tigers.
Oh,
and they were playing Auburn, I think, the next week. So we beat them.
Yeah. I remember you telling me.
Beat them, and it was crazy. So I mean, it just happens all the time at whatever level. So the danger there is they just got to get better. You know, the whole deal is how well you play, regardless of your opponent. You know, that's the key to everything.
Now, when was this? What year was this?
This was I think it was 1980 or
1980,
80 or 81. No, 81.
Right.
Excuse me, 81.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. No, this is the classic trap setup for the Rams. And this is all about coaching, isn't it? And I know players, but coaching, they got to make sure guys understand. Take care of this first, take care of that second.
I think the biggest deal now for Sean McVay is the level of play and all that, you know, for the entire team, like I said, is particularly the quarterback. They keep bending him towards what they do. Some of the things he's not real good at. You got to let him get the ball out quicker and throw some quick play actions and things of that nature. Kind of get him in rhythm into a game instead of all these deep balls all the time.
Yeah. See, and the kid, I'm not taking anything away from anyone. Van Jefferson had a nice touchdown bomb. The kid
did.
The kid fell, and they're not going to always fall for you, but you know, you take it. All right.
No question.
The pump and go to Odell. I don't know why you'd ever bite on anything like that as a corner when you're up in the score like that, and you know they got to do one thing, especially with that guy. If I'm lined up on that guy, I'm going to let him catch 5 out routes all the way down the field until my DC changes the coverage. There's no way you're going to get behind me.
Yeah, those elements of the game can't escape a good player in this league. That's just ridiculous to let that happen. No,
can't go on. All right, Mike, we're done, man. As always, you taught me something. Yards per pass play, 8.5 and above is really good, right?
Oh, shoot. Anything above 8 is really outstanding.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. And we're going to be looking for that, as always. All right, buddy.
All right, Ryan. Thank you.
Loved it. We'll see you next week.
All righty.
Take care.